You're watching the Crypto Market Update with your host, Chris Marshall. Your home for the latest crypto news, reviews, and updates that can be found around the block. If this is your first time here, then we would like to thank you for watching. If you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and share with anyone that you believe needs this type of content in their life. Just a reminder, anything discussed on this show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. With that out of the way, let's get on with the show.
How's this? Audio now? Gosh, that sucks. I've been in this stream for a minute. For a minute. Thanks for catching that. I've been just talking to myself. Who cares? Oh man. I hope you're doing pretty good in this market. I'm assuming by your name that you are into crypto. So it's been a pretty big pretty crazy week. So let me know how you're doing, and yeah, I'll start kind of go back over what I was looking at in the charts. Can you hear me now? Hope you can still hear me. I'm gonna wait to make certain that you can hear me. My stuff is showing that I'm okay. Perfect. All right. So I assume by your username you're in crypto. How's your week going? Is it going pretty well? I hope it is. Hope it's not too bad. Um, Man, I went through a bunch of technical analysis. I was just doing all that with no audio. Man, egg on my face. Running a stream, like a live stream, is very difficult. I have mad props to the people who have been doing this for a while and figured all this stuff out. Starting a stream up by yourself with no prior experience is really hard. I much prefer to just talk about this stuff through like a Zoom call or in person, but trying to do a live show is no fun. And yes, UST is dead. I'm going to be going over that. Probably going to be deleting the stream anyway, since most of the audio I've been going for, well, like 15 minutes. So I don't even know how long I've been going. For a minute now, most of the audio is gone. But real quick, just to catch you up, if you're interested, I'm going to show you where I think Bitcoin could go, according to like just straight chart reading. If you were to draw this as a bearish flag pattern, on the daily here, you have your flagpole here, you have your parallel channel that would create the bear flag. You would typically take this flagpole, and this would be where you should, in theory, go to after you fall and actually confirm that this is a bear flag pattern. So strictly looking at the charts, there's an argument to say that Bitcoin should fall to around $12,500. So just keep that in mind. We could definitely see much farther to go downward for crypto. If we zoom in, this same pattern has played out in a narrower time frame. If we look at just this portion here, from where we fell from 36, we sort of played out this. This would kind of be like a down-sloping bearish flag, or maybe a bearish pennant. There's a couple ways to draw it, but it's definitely a bearish pattern. The same thing, you drop it down, and this is where the price would be. Same thing here. You draw this as the flag pole. This would be a pennant, kinda. It's not a very clean one, but then we would drop down, and this is where we found ourselves at here. So it just keeps doing the same pattern over and over and over again. All these bearish flags or bearish pennants. The Bitcoin will not last long in the 30 to 30. I agree. I think it's a very strong buying point to start accumulating some. I wouldn't be shocked to see a flash crash down well into the 20s, though. That's kind of my guess. So just real quick, we're starting to play out a different pattern. This is the first time we're not seeing a really good bearish flag, bearish pennant, or any of the other those bearish patterns like we've been seeing on the way down. So I'm interested to see what this turns into. You could say that this might be the start of a double top, you know, while we're kind of moving, we're trying to move back up. It's hard to say. I think we're at this weird spot now where we've been fighting with 30,000 for such a long time. What is this? This was last night. I don't think we're going to break back above this 30,000. I think he will test these supports. I think so. I think we see, let's go over to this chart here. So this was my old chart. There's a lot of lines on it because I use them as notes. No one really sees this except me, so it looks like a noob's charts, but I just use this to kind of organize my own thoughts. My personal kind of like targets is this overall box. I think we're going to see a 24-ish thousand test. Basically, we're going to try to go back and test where we fell to just a couple days ago. This was on the 12th, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I think we're going to see a test of where we fell to before, and I think that's going to result in actually a test of this $24,000 level. If we break below that, I'm going to believe that we're going to see $20,000. That would be a battleground as well. We're going to sit there and spend some time duking it out on whether we're going to fall above or below 20,000. If we do that, I don't think it's long before we see 12. I think if we see 12, that would be true capitulation and probably a bottom. But those are some of the targets that I'd be looking at if I was going to be like doing a 20-20-20-60 trading plan or anything like that. You know, those would be my buy points, somewhere around down here between the 25 and 24. And then after we broke through that, probably around the 20. And then my final buy would be somewhere around the 14 to 12, if that kind of makes sense. Okay, enough with charts. Spent a lot on that. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of events. Finally, some people are starting to talk about that crypto is not actually the crime coin. Gotta love these giant ads. That is disgusting. Just ask the crypto cops. So the feds are increasing what they are able to actually track with crypto a little bit better. I mean, this has all been known to people that have been in the crypto space for a long time, but it's nice to see more mainstream media covering this. This is probably the only good news that has come out this week. It's amazing when like bad news starts to really come out. It seems like we only get bad news or we only get good news in the weeks. So a couple of weeks ago, we were only seeing good news, hardly any bad news. And then, and now it's just all bad news. Right? Coinbase stating that if they go bankrupt, you will probably lose all of your cryptocurrency. So after their disappointing earnings report, they had a piece that was hidden in here. Where is it? So the crypto, they basically put out the crypto assets we hold in custody on behalf of our customers could be subject to bankruptcy proceedings. Coinbase's users would become general unsecured creditors, meaning that they had no right to claim any specific property from the exchange in proceedings. Their funds would become inaccessible. That's if they go bankrupt. Are they going to? Who knows? Doesn't look great for them, but yeah, something to be aware of. This is why I think having a Ledger Nano S or something like that, some sort of hard wallet, is definitely great. Get it at least to your own custodial account. Get it off those get it off of those custodial accounts. Get at least a non-custodial account. I really like Trust Wallet. I've been using that a lot more lately. I don't have my phone right here, but there's a couple other ones. There's a bunch of them. Trust Wallet just seems to be the one that I like to use here lately. So yeah, very interesting news. And then Jared Yellen's back at it with all this stuff going on with Bitcoin and the crazy fall and UST and Luna and all this stuff. Lawmakers are using this to really start to push that regulation agenda, and that was kind of a no-brainer. So I'm not going to spend any more time on that. I think we all kind of expect that. Now, let's talk about Luna. If you haven't heard, obviously you have Crypto Cafford, so if you could put out a spelling, how spell it how you would say it. I don't know if it's Cafford, Caffard, or what. Spell it out for me. But yeah, so obviously since you're mentioning UST is dead, you probably know a little bit about it. Some pretty bad stuff went down with them, and this is not confirmed, and they've actually went and said that they've denied the attack on Terra. I'm talking about BlackRock and Citadel specifically. But how the attack went down, if we find out it wasn't BlackRock and Citadel, go ahead and take these out. But this is basically what happened. They borrowed 100,000 Bitcoin from Gemini, and they then traded 25,000 Bitcoin in UST. When the time was right, they contacted Do Kwon directly, the co-founder of Terra, telling him that they were willing to sell a large amount of Bitcoin in exchange for UST at a discounted price. By agreeing, Do Kwon drastically reduced the amount of UST liquidity in the market. At that point, BlackRock and Citadel began dumping all the remaining UST in Bitcoin, triggering a cascade of sales on both assets. And that's where everything kind of happens. This just constantly kept getting margin calls, and everybody that were staking and all the stuff and all their limit sells, stop losses, stuff like that, just started triggering, and it just caused this huge, massive sell-off of all these assets, which ended up affecting the entire broad market. So that's basically, you're from the United States, I'm from France. Yes, I am from the United States. I've barely been outside of the United States. I'm not certain that I can really count Niagara Falls, Canada, is outside of the U.S. Well, technically, yes, I left the U.S. border. It did not feel like a different country at all. Is France nice? I bet it's pretty nice. I've always wanted to go to Europe. Take a look at some castles and stuff like that, but real into European history and medieval stuff, castles, knights, love all of that. Would love to go and look at some actual history and stuff, but I have not gotten to go yet. So yeah, that's basically what has happened to Terra so far. Now, here's some stuff that I just became aware of. So this was CoinDesk. They put out this huge report on kind of what had happened. I found some of this portion of it quite interesting. If you want to look at the full thing, go check them out on CoinDesk. I can put this in the link to this video if you're interested in it. Basically, in order to shore up UST's price, the Luna Foundation Guard, Terra's official peg defenders, deployed over $2 billion in its newly formed Bitcoin reserves. Do Kwon started sweeping Bitcoin off the market in recent months in an attempt to backstop the UST should its peg ever need defending, and that's where this LFG reserve stuff came into play. They bought a bunch of Bitcoin and were supposed to use it as a backstop. They loaned billions of dollars worth of reserve assets to professional market makers, draining the LFG blockchain wallet almost entirely in the process. And this was before this whole market collapse started happening. So this was gone before they could actually use it to back the peg. It just happened that shortly after they started this final step, that someone was able to figure it out and implement the entire attack. Whether that was BlackRock and Citadel, the government, whoever, the conspiracy hats want to say, it's just real interesting. So now as LFG struggles to top up with some empty reserves with new investors, market makers are on a quest to actively defend UST's peg by deploying rescue capital on exchanges and liquidity pools. So very interesting article. I thought it, because I kept seeing when I was doing all this research, everybody kept mentioning where was the Bitcoin. That was a question that I had. I didn't realize that they were using it to fund these professional market makers to in response to defend this. So very interesting. So last thing on the stream, he officially put out just a little bit ago, Do Kwon, his idea for revitalizing Terra, not UST, but actual Luna, which I think is a worthy cause. And then down below after this, we'll look at some comments from some of the people who have read this. I agree with some of these comments that are down below, but I think the overall goal of revitalizing Luna, how he describes it, is great. Maybe it seems like most of the problems or issues that the community is having is with this portion down here. So let's read this real fast. There's going to be a lot of reading on this one, just to be forewarned. So I want to make certain I get all this out correctly. There's been several community and validator groups discussing launching a fork of the Terra chain to make the ecosystem whole from the UST depegging event. Wanted to offer my perspective on how this should be done. And this is Do Kwon writing this. As of this time, there are still several $1 billion worth of UST, and the value of Luna token has fallen to essentially zero. Even if the peg were to eventually restore after the last marginal buyers and sellers have capitulated, the holders of Luna have so severely been liquidated and diluted that we will lack the ecosystem to build back up from the ashes. While a decentralized economy does need a decentralized money, UST has lost too much trust with its users to play the role. So what remains? While UST has been the central narrative of Terra's growth story over the last year, the Terra ecosystem and its community is what is worth preserving. We've built up one of the largest and most vibrant developer ecosystems in crypto, with some of the smartest minds in the world working on products with the best UI UX. Terra Station has a large install base with 1 million plus users across the world. Although in distress, strong brand recognition and a name that almost everyone in the world will have heard about. So the Terra community has reconstituted the chain to preserve the community and the developer ecosystems. Validators should reset the network ownership to 1 billion tokens distributed among these people here. And then I thought, before we get to the distributions, let's read this part here, call to action. What is the, no, we're not going to read this yet. The future of the Terra network. He talks about where he thinks we need to reset back to. Oh, here it is. So 400 million, so this is the distribution ports. Validators should reset the network ownership to 1 billion tokens distributed among 400 million, 40%, to Luna holders before the depegging event. Last $1 tick before the depeg on the Binance should be reasonable. So this is where the fork would essentially happen at. They would go back in time. Thanks for your answers, and cockroach knows like cockroaches. Yeah, absolutely. Your channel deserves more subscribers. I mean, I agree. I'm also not one to sit there and chase subscribers. I have a cynical view on this type of stuff. I know that I need to get this information out there because there's some getting it out there, and I think it's my duty to get it out there, but I'm also not going to go out there and beg people to watch me or force them to sit there and learn about this stuff. I'm doing something similar in my actual community here. I built a tech group to go out and teach businesses about crypto, how to interact with it, how to accept it, and then try to teach the public for free how to interact with it safely, how to protect themselves, how to pay for goods with it, how to think about it, stuff like that. And, there's very few people who want to learn about this stuff. And it surprises me. You know, I'm in it, you're in it. So we just think of it naturally, and you know everyone needs to learn about it. But if they're not in it yet, it's amazing that they just. It's like there was this movie that came out on Netflix just a little while ago. Basically, the entire world could see this, or the government could see this meteor coming to the Earth, and they knew that it was going to destroy the entire Earth. No hope at all. And for the biggest time, they just laughed it off. And then when they confirmed the threat, they were like, you know what? It's not a problem. Who cares? Don't even worry about it. And that's the mentality that I see a lot of the public having around crypto as well. As like, yeah, we know that fiat and centralization of all these different things is a problem, but I don't really want to do anything about it. It's frustrating. So yeah, and back to this part here. So this looks to be where they're planning on doing the fork, at least in Do Kwon's proposal. This is where it sounds like he wants to do the fork, is the last $1 tick before the DPEG on Binance. And it seems like this $400 million to Luna holders before the depegging event is where most of the community is having a problem. So the other distributions would be 40% to UST holders pro rata at the time of the new network upgrade. So anybody currently holding UST, and when this network upgrade happens, the fork happens, that's when they would get their distribution. So that's who would be eligible for this portion. 100 million to Luna holders at the final moment of the chain halt. So the last minute marginal Luna buyers should be compensated for their role in attempting to provide stability for the network. And before we get down to the community's reaction to these things, I think a good answer would be to swap this 100 million for this 400 million. So, you know, I understand his argument for wanting to reward the people who held on and were doing this, but we'll talk more about that here in a second. 100 million to the community pool to fund future development, of course. All Luna besides the third tranche should be staked at the network Genesis state. The network should incentivize its security with a reasonable inflation rate, say 7%, as fees will no longer be enough to pay for security without the swap fees. Understandable. So there was one, I don't want to read all these. There was one that I really liked. Where was it? Probably gonna have missed it now. Was this one? Nope, it was down a little bit farther. I believe it's this one here. So this user here, I disagree with this distribution. Rewards pre-depeg whales. So basically that first 40%, he's stating would, that first 40% would reward the pre-depeg whales and those that abandon the peg who users defends as exit liquidity. How on earth is that? Those deploying capital to defend the peg should be punished whilst others ran for the door appropriate. So he's saying, how is the people who are deploying capital to purchase Terra at 50 cents, a third of a penny, you know, all super low numbers? How is it that these people who are trying to get that peg back up, the people who should be punished, and the ones that ran for the door, why should they be the ones that are getting the UST or these new Luna airdrops? Those distributions need to be fixed, seeing as people defending were the true believers. Those that ran away are going to dump it to recoup losses, whereas those who fought to the end are going to be punished for doing so. On one hand, I agree. One hand, I disagree. So this person here, Nikolai.ust, this is unfair. People had life savings in Anchor as it was marketed as a safe and easy savings protocol. How can you blame people for running for the exit when their life savings are down 60%? I understand this a lot, but these are also the people that um, are going to dump it to recoup those losses. They're not the true believers. They're the people who are looking for an easy savings account. Totally agree. Last minute Luna buyers were most valuable as they were defending and providing liquidity. So I agree with both sides. I think these people here should receive something. It's not their fault that the entire protocol was attacked and they wanted to save their nest egg. That's the nature of crypto investing, is to protect your wealth. You shouldn't. I would never recommend anyone just buy and hold through to zero. Set stop losses. If you really believe in it, set it a little extra low. But yeah, so I think an easy fix potentially would be to swap these two. But we'll see. Other than that, that's the show. It's been a wild ride in crypto. I'm interested to see where we go this weekend. I think this weekend's going to be a pretty interesting time in it. Most of the time when we end Fridays green, the weekend is typically green as well. Will that be the case this weekend? So much is different. We're just in a weird time in crypto. It's really hard to say. I still have not purchased anything. I didn't purchase anything down here. I take that back. That's a bit of a lie. I have purchased stuff, but it was in a super small trading account that I day trade with. It's not any of my portfolio. It's just play money that I will do some small day trading stuff if I have an extra couple hours. But nothing has actually been added to like any of my long-term portfolios or anything like that. I also haven't sold anything, so I am down a lot. I've had dry powder sitting on the sidelines for a long time, expecting something like this. I did not think it was going to happen this fast. I was completely shocked each day with how much we lost. I believe yesterday we were down. What was the total that we were down just from Monday? What day was Monday? It was the 9th. Start on the 9th. So at one point yesterday, we were down 25% on the week in Bitcoin, which is crazy. I don't know when the last time that was. It's nuts. I don't think it happened that fast here. Let's see. This was a 40% drop in a week. It felt different back in May 21. I don't know why. It just felt like it was such a longer time period. It just felt like this drop happened so fast. Really caught a lot of people off guard. But we are coming up. Man, this chart's messy. Yeah, it just felt like it happened so fast. I think we're going to see more down movement. That's what my chart is telling me. I don't think we've seen the bottom. So yeah, hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you have a great weekend, Crypto Kafard. It's great to see you. We actually got up to 3 views today. That's pretty good. So anyways, I'll see you all around. Have a great weekend. Try to stay positive in this crypto market. I'll see you all on Monday for your crypto market forecast. See what events are coming up throughout the week that may have an effect on your favorite crypto. That is it for today. See you around.